I ended up just going into full-blown Satan worshiping, wanting to sign a contract in blood. When I rolled over, what I saw was all red, like a watery image, and it was a demon looking at me, smiling with its crooked finger and nails and looking at me and giving me the come here.
An FBI agent goes to church immediately after he has an encounter with a demon. So let's get right into it. Shout out to the David Beck Show.
Tell me about faith. Tell me about your faith. When you were young, how'd you grow up? What happened?
So I grew up in a Christian home. It was it was more Southern Baptist where I grew up. It was the hellfire and brimstone, you know. Don't do this, don't do that, and then usually that's the person you find doing it anyway. Which is, I'm like, it's human stuff, right? I'm like, you're on the front line now. I'm like, I didn't want it till you told me I couldn't have it, But I grew up that way, and it was just the way I was raised by my parents, and the love, and my whole family. I mean, both of my grandfathers were pastors.
Wow.
And I saw, did I see? I'm pretty sure I saw my mom's dad preach a few times. But he would get a shout out on the Gaithers, They talk about being at a tent revival in South Carolina, and they're like, that's my grandpa. Wow. But that's what I grew up around. Does that mean I stayed that way? Absolutely not.
Did you had a brush with darkness?
Oh, big time, yeah. My first 7 years of school was at a Christian school. My parents were doing well enough to put me in a private school, which had its own issues. When I went to public school in 8th grade, I was like, let's just say peer pressure was a new thing for me, it's wrong to do it, but if somebody calls you a chicken, you're like, well, I'm not a chicken. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, I know I'm going to get expelled if I do this, but I might be a lot of things, but I'm not a chicken.
Right. I think I learned a lesson. I think it was in Back to the Future 2 or 3.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Question: growing up, were you guys one of those people who fell into peer pressure where you're like, you cared a lot about what other people thought? I was never like that. I never really cared if people were doing something, people tried to get me to do something. I'm just like, oh, I'm going to go home and sleep. Like, I didn't ever care to go out and party or drink or whatever because I just wanted to be home. I was like a homebody. I was an introvert. I wanted to be home. I didn't have that pressure as much as some other people, to be honest.
So in my teenage years, I did, and I put this in the book. I went through a little spell of, it started with like witchcraft stuff, and then it led into like just like a friend. I always use air quotes. My friend introduced me, and it starts kind of innocent and stupid, but I ended up just going into full-blown Satan worshiping, wanting to sign a contract in blood and all this crazy stuff. I watched every horror movie from A to Z that was out, when you could.
He signed a contract in blood? Let me tell you guys, I'm running the other way. Anytime someone wants to do anything with blood, no thanks.
Movies on a VCR tape. And I was just in a real dark place. I didn't realize it at the time. Of course I didn't. I was a teenager. But when you get older and you look back, I'm like, oh, man. My parents had gotten divorced. And that, hey, are you okay with this? Because I'd never seen my parents argue at all. But that last year, they argued nonstop. And then they got a divorce. They got separated and then they got a divorce. And looking back, I could see that, it's like, hey, are you okay with this? Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, I don't care. I was probably saying something else, a little more vulgar in my mind, I don't, but that went in everything I did. I started, and that's kind of like, I don't care. And it kind of goes, it doesn't kind of go, it goes with, if you look at gangs, cults, extremism, whether it's far left, far right, radical jihad, they kind of, you'll see this thing where they're grabbing somebody who has a need to belong, wants to fit in. Maybe even as a young man, you want power. Yeah, and you that's that slippery slope that led me down that path. And then as I tell the story in the book, I'm still unbelievable friends with my core high school group. And the only thing we can chalk it up to is that it's everything we went through growing up that kind of made us keep this bond. But one of my buddies was there. We were drinking one night, and I'd gone to this full-fledged deal where I'm just talking in demon voices. I was losing friends. It was just evil, man. I had a Volkswagen, oddly enough, for my first vehicle. They do have good headroom.
You don't seem like the Volkswagen Beetle.
Yeah.
You don't seem like the Beetle. Did you have the little flower in the dash?
No, they didn't do that then. This was a 1971, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, but solid white with chrome rims.
Mm-hmm.
You know, doesn't matter what the body looks like as long as you got good tires on it. But the place that worked on the car was a Christian workshop, and I would set the tape. Say the band's Grim Reaper, and then somewhere in there in that 80s satanic, pentagram stuff, there'll be some demonic speak, and I would set the cassette to where when they cranked the car, it would just be blaring, because you could do that back then, and it would be blaring that stuff. It's just evil. It's just, I was not cool, and I was shooting everything in my backyard. I wasn't, it wasn't good. And one night, I'd started doing these like skits, if you want to call them that. But I was acting out a scene that I'd seen in the movie where it's a demonic possession. And
you were with people, or
yeah, we'd had a party, and we were at somebody's house. I don't remember the name. I could see the guy. I can't remember his name. I didn't drive there that night. So just alcohol, no psychedelics, nothing hallucinator, nothing like that. And I was doing the thing. We were in the same room. It was my buddy and his girlfriend, and I was on a couch. Nothing nefarious happened. Everybody, at least I didn't think it was. Everybody's passing out, but I'm doing this scene in my head where that I'd seen in the movie, and you talk like yourself, and you're screaming no, 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 and then you laugh like the demon, and you talk like that. And I was going back and forth doing this, I don't know, play, if you will, and it ends with the demon winning. And the demon taking over your body. And I was facing the back of the couch. And when I rolled over, laughing like the demon or the satanic whatever possession, when I rolled over, what I saw was all red, like a watery image. And it was a demon looking at me, smiling with its crooked finger and nails and looking at me and giving me the come here. And I screamed.
What? This is why you don't play around with demonic things. You don't open up a door to the demonic. You're going to face the consequences. And this guy here, literally enticing, opening up himself to anything possible, thinking that this is all fun and games, until when you actually meet one, you're like, oh man, this is not for me. Like, did he think it's fake? Why did he think it was so cool?
Now, because I'm 54, but I screamed probably the highest I've ever screamed. And from just me reaching, like sitting up on the couch and reaching for the light switch, I was as white as a sheet. I was panting, pouring sweat. Of course, my buddy jumps up like, what the heck is going on, And I looked at him and I said, man, if I ever do that again, if I ever use that voice or even do this again, you got my permission to take a baseball bat and crack me over the skull with it, or something to that effect. He got completely calm, Glenn. It was like the spirit just entered the room. Everything just went, whoo, and he looked at me, and I don't even know if he remembers saying it, because I think it was the spirit. He looked at me and he leaned in as if he knew what I'd seen, and he said, I told you, didn't I? That was it. I didn't sleep. I walked to church. I don't know how many miles it was. It was a Saturday night, and I walked to Edwards Road Baptist Church in Greenville, South Carolina. And
wow. He went to church right after. Didn't even care. I've heard that, though. When people were Christians, they grew up Christian and were following Jesus, and then for whatever reason, they're like, is this really worth it? Let me try to do this on my own. I don't need God. And then they have the most demonic, crazy experiences. It's almost like Jesus shows you what it would be like to be away from God's protection. And it's a crazy, crazy time and experience. So, have any of you guys had any experiences like that or know someone? Because that's wild stuff.
Through every service.
I would have too.
That was it. That was it for the demonic stuff for me.
What did he mean by, I told you?
I think early on he had said, like, man, you need to stop that crap. You know, you're scared.
So he
people.
was not part of.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, he was just he was one of the friends I was losing because I was going into such a dark place. And then, you know, throughout my life, have I seen demonic stuff? Yeah. Have I had to go to a satanic concert festival for 3 days?
How do you do it?
I've very transparently, it's because they had Jack Daniels there. That's the only way I said.
As an alcoholic, I can appreciate that.
You know, I'm like, it's at a bar, right? And they're like, yeah. And I go, do they serve whiskey? And they go, yeah. And I go, I think I can do it. I was like, because I don't know about walking into. It's just a bunch. For me, when you walk in, it's sad because it's a bunch of lost souls, is what it is.
How many of those lost souls actually know what they're dealing with? Like, you didn't know what you were dealing with until it happened.
Yeah, I would venture to say a bunch because they're probably just on it for the kick. Right. Or maybe they're saying they're atheist and they're doing it just to be funny, you know. Right. But you start scratching at the surface, I'm telling you right now, in my belief system, there's definitely spiritual warfare and all kinds of stuff.
It's the only way to describe, I think, what's happening, because it's sweeping the entire world. And it's either deep mental illness or it's possession of some sort. There is, you know, I have friends who are atheists who have said to me, I don't know how to describe what I'm seeing other than evil. And I know that's not an atheist word, and I know what it means, but I can't describe this any other way.
Yeah. And that's what I try to tell people. I put it in the book. I'm sure it's been said before, but the best way for me to explain it, a lot of these interviews, I've been blessed on this book launch tour and stuff, and even the Rolling Stone magazine article back in 2022. But I just say, look, you just need to understand that there are evil people on this planet that want to do evil things to good people.
That's wild stuff. But we serve a greater God. We serve a bigger God. We don't need to be afraid. But that just shows that we need to be a light for Jesus in the darkness. We live in a dark, cold world, messed up, evil place. But God is good, and He is living. The Holy Spirit's inside of us, and we could be a light in the darkness. We can make a difference for the kingdom. So, guys, I encourage you to keep on seeking Jesus and putting Him first above all else, guys. It will be the best decision you could ever do. And also, guys, if you've never decided to follow Jesus, I encourage you to do that today. In the description below, you can click a link to help you to decide to follow Jesus for the first time. I encourage you to do that today.